It's Full Gear 2022 predictions time. I am Luke Owen, D-A-D. I'm joined by your Jam That champion, your Quizzlemania champion, and that bitch, Tempest. Tempest, I'm officially, I was meant to do this on the AEW review, but then I wasn't here for it. So I'm officially challenging you for that championship. The last time you and I did face off for that championship, it was at Clash in the Castle after I jammed it in. I jammed in my jam in the jar.
How did that go for you?
Well, you know, I really thought that Drew might have won. Do you know if they'd have done because there was that report, there was a story that they were going to try and fudge it. So that,
I've seen that, yeah.
So that Drew would have won, but he would have only won the WWE Championship as a way to split the belt off of Roman from a theory cash-in. Would I have won?
I think it would have depended on who won that match.
Which would have been Drew. So, yeah, I guess, had plans not changed, I would be sat here, your Jam That champion. Though, knowing my luck, I would have just lost it to Ollie at a Crown Jewel.
Or the next day at All Out.
That's true. I might have just lost it at All Out. But yeah, we're going to be doing our Full Gear predictions. We're keeping track of them with little graphics on the screen here. And then we're going to be doing live reactions. It's going to be me and Tempest this coming Saturday for AEW Full Gear 2022. At this current point in time when we're recording this before Dynamite, because this goes out on a Wednesday before Dynamite airs. So we don't have... Well, we think we've got the most of the card, but they'll probably announce a couple more matches. So we'll do predictions for those on the actual live stream itself this coming Saturday. But we do have 9 matches announced.
So we've got 2/3 of the card then.
Yeah, I mean, we were joking in the office that there'll probably be another 5 matches announced because there'll be some buy-in matches.
I was going to say, we don't have any buy-in matches. I would be surprised if we don't get like QT Marshall against Danhausen on the buy-in.
Yeah, probably. Like, I was surprised that the Eddie Kingston Jun Akiyama matches on Rampage. I would be for sure that's a buy-in match.
Well, it's difficult to say whether because, you know, obviously having somebody from another promotion just come in and lose a singles match might be a little bit more complicated. But they're doing a tag match, and maybe that'll set up a singles match on the show.
It's not a bad shout, actually. So we're going to go through the 9 matches that we've got currently announced, one of which, actually, we don't know who's going to be in it either because it's the finals of the Eliminator Tournament. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But we're going to kick things off with Luchasaurus versus Jungle Boy Jack Perry in a steel cage match.
I'm really looking forward to this match. AEW's cage matches have delivered both times they've done them so far. And this is like a real coming out party type thing for Jungle Boy as a singles guy. He hasn't had that big singles win on pay-per-view yet in his career. And I would be shocked if it's not on this show.
Yeah.
They're going to do a lot. It's a perfect like smoke and mirrors type match. A real come from behind underdog style match. I think it's going to be really good. It's one of the ones I'm most looking forward to on the show, honestly.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really, really good match. The story, I think, has suffered a little bit on TV. And I think Christian's injury going into All Out really has hampered this somewhat because they didn't really get to do a match at All Out. They had to do an angle. And then that angle is sort of been a bit slow on TV. It's been there sometimes, then not there. And like I was kind of not over the story, but I was not massively invested in the story. And then Jungle Boy did that crossbody onto Luchasaurus off the ramp, and they fell over and fell off the ramp through a bunch of clutter down. And I was like, oh cool, well I'm now back in. And I'm really looking forward. And now they've announced it's a steel cage match. Yeah, I'm kind of pumped for this.
Yeah, it was funny because for a long time I was sitting there going, I can't believe that this company spent 1.5 years building up for the Jungle Boy Christian Cage match because they were the final 2 in that Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing last year, and that led into their team and that whole run that they had. I was like, this is such long-term storytelling. This is so good, building this up to make this singles match feel so important. And now it's like, all right, well, now you've gone a little overboard. And I don't think that's entirely their fault because, again, the injury has forced them to change direction at least a little bit. But I am ready for a bit of a break in this story. And I think Jungle Boy wins this match And then they can separate these two for a while and have Christian maybe off TV for a little bit. And then once he's back and able to be cleared, then he can just come right back in, maybe cost Jungle Boy a TNT title shot or something like that. And then they go right back in and finally have the big blow-off match.
Yeah, I'm also predicting Jungle Boy to win this one as well. Although I think we've now got to stop calling him Jungle Boy because they're very clear on commentary now. He is Jack Perry. Jungle Boy is just a nickname.
I know, but I like calling him Jungle Boy.
But yeah, I'm also going with Jungle Boy on this one. Up next, speaking of things that have probably gone on for too long and are still on this card, though, it's Jeff Jarrett versus Sting. It's TNA 2006 all over again.
I'll be honest, I forgot what show it was from, you'd probably know off the top of your head, but seeing a clip from TNA of Sting just tanking the guitar shot and firing up and beating his chest from that show, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's wrestling right there. And if they did that spot in this show, I would imagine it'll get one of the bigger pops of the night.
So yeah, I mean, it's Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal versus Sting and Darby Allin. My actual big prediction for this was it was going to be a 6-man, and it was going to be Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh versus Darby, Sting. Sorry, I'll try that again. Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh versus Sting, Darby, and Paul White.
Oh, I was going to say, you got to get Tall Paul in
Got to get Tall Paul in there. The Giant versus Giant. It'd have been amazing. But no, this is just a straight tag match. It's just Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal versus Sting and Darby Allin. And like, this is, Jarrett and Sting is a feud that goes back like decades. These are two guys that were facing off in WCW. And then in the early days of TNA, still on like the Nashville Fairgrounds days of TNA, these two were having like matches, Sting and Luger and all this sort of stuff. And so like, it's been going on for a whole while. And then all throughout TNA, they were like feuding and crossing paths. I totally see why Tony Khan brought in Jeff Jarrett he brought him in for a backstage role, but I can totally see why he's also putting this on a pay-per-view match.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I can see why he's done it, but from a personal standpoint, I would not have done it.
The biggest TNA fan in the world wouldn't have done it. Yeah, it's a weird kind of mix here where I can understand, well, you've brought him in, let's have him do a match.
Yeah.
What match are you going to do? It's this match. So that's fine. I'm split on what I think is going to happen here. I would be appalled if Sting and Darby Allin do not win this match.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also been saying that about every Jeff Jarrett pay-per-view match for pretty much his entire career.
But like, Sting and Darby are undefeated as a tag team, right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure they've not yet lost just a straight tag match.
I would have thought they've got to win here. Yeah. Like, Jarrett for me, and I'm willing to be proven wrong on this one. And I will eat my words if I am proven wrong. But I've got to think that this is a one deal thing for Jarrett. Like, he's been brought in for a backstage role, and he's doing this pay-per-view match. It's a one pay-per-view match thing, but we're not going to have Jarrett on the Revolution card or the Double or Nothing card or All Out next year. Like, maybe he'll have one match next year, but it's not going to be in every pay-per-view thing like Sting currently is. Mr.
Stink.
Mr. Stink. It's, AJ Styles in TNA once said, "Stink, you're wrong." I think this is a one-time deal for Jeff, and in which case then I think it's Sting and Darby that get the win.
I agree. I'm going to go with what makes sense, and that is Sting and Darby Allin to win this match. But if anybody on this show is going to come out of left field and just have a match that and a result that's going to just swerve the fans, I think this one may make more sense than others, at least from a historical standpoint.
Yeah, it's true. And it'll be very interesting as well because Sting and Darby Allin will remain undefeated and Jarrett and Jay Lethal will remain winless as a tag team.
Oh, yeah.
Can't beat Ric Flair and Andrade. Can't beat Sting and Darby Allin.
They got a real a real father-son thing going right here.
Yeah, and maybe that'll be Jarrett and Jay Lethal's thing. They'll just face off against WCW legends and a current star.
Yeah.
Like that's what they'll do at the next pay-per-view. It'll be them versus Scott Steiner and someone else.
Yeah, maybe they'll get and because it's got to be like it's father figure and not quite son.
Yeah,
is what we've gotten both times. You could have Scott and Braun Breaker gets out of his commitments.
I was going to say, if only Petey Williams hadn't signed for WWE
Yes.
as a backstage producer, you could have done Big Papa Pump and Little Papa Pump, Little Petey Pump versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Oh, well. Say la vie. Up next, for the AEW TBS Championship, it is Jade Cargill, the actual champion, versus Nyla Rose, the fake champion.
Mm-hmm. Now, I am your Jam That champion.
You certainly are.
And therefore, I get the first choice.
Okay, here we go.
And I'm going to make the big-brained decision. I'm going with Jade Cargill as my Joker pick.
You don't think that Nyla Rose is going to be the person that's going to dethrone Jade Cargill's win streak?
Somehow I don't.
Oh, man. I wish it was Nyla, though.
Yeah.
If I thought it was going to be Athena, and if it's not Athena, if I could hand pick a woman to end Jade Cargill's run, I'd probably pick Nyla Rose.
That's fun.
It would be fun.
Just so much personality.
So much.
That being said, if I'm going to pick somebody, I will be picking Willow
Nightingale. That was going to be my third option,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if you depends on how they work it from now until then, but if you can get Jade up to like 49 wins and then do Jade and Willow at Revolution for the title, I think that would be a perfect time to have it be 49-1 and you change the title then. I think that would be really cool. I think that would be great. That being said, for now, Jade Cargill is going to be my Joker pick. I had a few other ones here, but because this is a championship match and worth double points, it makes more sense to use it here. Because my other one was honestly going to be in the Eliminator Tournament, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
We'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah, I mean, so if you are new to this channel, please subscribe if you are new, of course. You get 1 point for every correct prediction, but on a title match, you get 2 points. But your Joker pick, and you only get one of those per pay-per-view, gets you double points. So you have quite smartly played yours on a championship. But of course, should Nyla Rose win, you will lose 4 points.
It's a lot of points to lose.
It really is.
That's why you got to make a smart choice.
I mean, you will get the 4 points, though, because Jade Cargill is for sure winning this match. Like, she is 100% winning this match.
She's got to get her belt back.
She has,
putting this off long enough. It's going to be on the pay-per-view.
She's trusted Kira Hogan to get it, and that stupid idiot has failed at every opportunity, so...
Fred Velvet was there.
She'd have had that back week 1.
I love Kira Hogan.
In what might be one of the more emotional matches of the night, making her in-ring return after quite a lengthy absence away, Saraya steps into the ring in a bit of a dream match with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. I felt bad for Saraya after the announcement. Because I think a lot of people were dead harsh on her for it. And I just think it was really sad that we were like really praising and pleased for Danielson and for Edge doing the same thing. But like Saraya were like, nah, not you though. Like you got emotional during your promo and you missaid the Tokyo Dome. Like, you're an idiot and you're stupid and Britt Baker should win. Like the promo segment didn't do her any favors because Britt Baker was like incredible in it.
She was on fire.
And I think that they pitched Saraya wrong in the sense of you're no one. You're a nobody in this company. You're the top star of this company, but you're actually a nobody, whereas I'm an actual star. She came off as the heel. So I don't think that the promo segment was pitched well. Having said that, I do think people were very mean to her. And I feel bad that her moment of making her in-ring return, it's been overshadowed by people being like, well, you said Tokyo Dome when you meant the Sumo Hall.
Sumo Hall,
so yeah, you're a stupid and you shouldn't wrestle anymore. Feel bad for her now, friend.
It's a bit harsh indeed. Yeah, I'm going from that promo into this match. I'm very curious to see what they do here because she cut, like, just like you said, she goes out there and does the whole, I was the star, you're a nobody, you haven't done it like I've done it. That that angle that they've taken with this, if she goes in there and beats Britt Baker in the first match, that's interesting. That is kind of like, well, she's backing up what she then says. But then on the flip side of things, is she going to go in and then lose her first big pay-per-view match, having come back after like 5 years, having not wrestled? I don't know. This is one of the ones I'm more split on this show.
Do you know what? I was going to say Saraya, like out the gate. It's her first match back in 5 years. Like, of course she's going to get the win. But like, yeah, the way you kind of posted it there and sort of like said, well, maybe this. And I'm like, actually, you know what? It kind of makes me think of going back to TNA. Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Angle's first big match in TNA was against Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe at that point was like this undefeated badass. He was like the guy in TNA that was not the world champion. And Kurt Angle came in and like on the message boards, shout out to the Smart Marks forums back in the day, there was a lot of chat of just like, if Angle comes in and wins, it really does set the precedent. It's like, no, he's an actual star and you've just beaten one of your homegrown guys. What a statement it would have been if Samoa Joe had beaten Kurt Angle. And then you can have Kurt Angle can get the win in the return match, but you've really set a precedent there that Samoa Joe beat Kurt Angle in Kurt Angle's first match. If Britt Baker wins here, that's a huge, huge win for Britt Baker. And Saraya can pick up the win in the return match, but it does, but Saraya winning here does little for Saraya and it does nothing for Baker. Baker winning does so much for Britt, and it doesn't hurt Saraya in any way.
Yeah, it's difficult because a lot of the time this year, Britt has kind of gotten a bit of that negative reception from a lot of fans just because she wins a lot of matches, like winning that Owen Hart Cup and everything. There have been a lot of times where people have looked at that and goes, oh, is Britt Baker winning again? I think this might be one that's a bit warranted from a storyline perspective, but at the same time, I don't know that at all. It depends on what they want to do, because I've seen a lot of people say that Saraya has very like heelish energy with the promos that she's cut thus far. And if they play that up and have her turn and maybe not necessarily do a double turn, but Britt's always had that organic reception from the audience. If they can kind of play with that and have Saraya turn heel, I don't know that her winning this first match and then playing up even more like, no, all of these women aren't stars like I was a star.
Yeah.
There's different directions they could go here. I don't know if there's like a bang right answer for this match like there are some others.
What are you picking, though?
I'm almost tempted to have this just be one where we both take a different one.
That's what I was going to say.
You know?
I was honestly just going to pick the opposite of what you picked.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I think I'm going to go with Britt Baker.
Cool. I'll take Saraya then. I'm happy with either one. I'm probably more confident in Saraya than I am Baker.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually pretty happy that it's gone round that way. But yeah, I was thinking like, I think you and I can go 50-50 on this, and I'm quite happy with that.
We can't have the same answer on every match.
No, which brings us to our next match here. For the ROH World Championship, it is Chris Jericho, the champion, defending against former champion Bryan Danielson, against former champion Claudio Castagnoli, and Sammy Guevara, who is also there. I don't care.
Yeah, this one feels a bit off.
Yeah.
I really kind of enjoyed Jericho's like open challenge against the ROH guys type thing.
I enjoyed that.
Like he's had good matches with Danielson, he's had good matches with Bandito, he's had good matches.
Dalton Castle was great.
Dalton Castle with that incredible promo to set it up. You had Colt Cabana's return. There were a lot of really nice moments throughout this. And it felt like they just didn't have an idea for a big pay-per-view match. And they just went, nah. Put all the Blackpool Combat Club guys in there again. And
yeah.
I don't know. This one feels like a step off. Like, it'll be a good match. Don't get me wrong. This will probably be one of the better matches on the show because you've got Claudio and you've got Bryan and, you know, Sammy Guevara's a good wrestler.
Great wrestler.
A good wrestler.
Yeah.
It'll be a good match, but I don't think the title's changing hands here. And I don't think it necessarily fits with the kind of I'm going to beat every former Ring of Honor World Champion story that they've had here. I don't know what they could have done. They probably would have had to go outside the company and get like a really big former champion. But even still, like, you know, you might be a little bit limited in that regard.
I don't know. Daniels is right there.
Yeah. I don't know if that is big enough for a pay-per-view match, but
No.
it's like, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's a tough position to be in.
I think you could have advertised it as a dream match. Christopher Daniels, the fallen angel Christopher Daniels versus Chris Jericho, especially if you did it as like Lionheart Chris Jericho, or like a real like generational thing. I think you probably could have advertised and marketed it in a certain way. And I probably would have been more into that idea than I am this 4-way, even though this has got Danielson and Claudio in it. And Sammy, for that matter. This just feels like filler before we get to, what's the final one of the year? Is it Final Battle?
Final Battle, yeah.
And I really thought that was going to be Jericho versus Daniel Garcia. Pure champion versus world champion, unify the belts. But they've really taken the foot off that pedal as well and just put Garcia back into the JAS. And now
I was certain that All Out was going to be the moment to do this, or at the very least, like the next week on Dynamite. And we're here like over 2 months later, and it's just like, no, we're just still kind of at square one with this story. And
maybe they'll put the foot back on the pedal and we'll start doing that leading into Final Battle. But I think that they've lost me a little bit on that one. Yeah. And I'm very tired of seeing JAS versus Blackpool Combat Club, because these lot have been feuding since like February of this year. It's too long and
ridiculous.
It's really, and like the thing is that it's too long and it's not moving anywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone is in the same position they were in February, and that's then not long-term storytelling. That is just a story that has taken too long to tell.
Exactly, and that's always been the difference to me between those two things. They've lost me with this, and this is a bit of a side note, but I really don't like that now both of the Blood and Guts matches we've gotten have just been like, we're just going to do Blood and Guts. Doesn't solve anything.
Nope.
It's just a big cage match.
I'm really sorry. It sucks for what happened with Eddie. Like, we could have had, like, that should have been the feud ended with Eddie and Jericho, and then maybe that started the feud with JAS and Blackpool Combat Club, but it didn't, because we did more Jericho and Eddie stuff afterwards. Real shame, and I think it's a real bad move. That said, I guess I'm picking Jericho.
I can't imagine they'll take the belt off of Jericho. No. I think he's like he's the draw for Final Battle. They've got the title on a big name guy, and he's going to draw a good buy rate for Final Battle. I can't imagine they'll take it off of him before then. I have him retaining this as well.
For the interim AEW's World Championship, it is the champion Toni Storm defending against Jamie Hayter.
The interim Women's World Champion.
Sorry, the interim Women's World Champion. I do apologize. Now, obviously, Thunder Rosa is the AEW Women's Champion. She and Toni Storm were a short-lived tag team of Thunderstorm, so one would imagine that you're going to keep the belt on Toni Storm, so then you can then build to the title unification match, and then maybe Thunder Rosa drops the belt like she was reportedly supposed to have done at Forbidden Door, and Toni Storm is crowned as the women's champion. But Jamie Hayter's got massively over, and I really feel that the one thing we haven't done with an interim reign yet is have the interim champion lose. So I'm going to say Jamie Hayter.
Ooh,
I'm saying Jamie Hayter wins.
This one is tough because I think this is kind of one of those deals where you either go with your previous plan or you go with what the fans are telling you. And the fans have gotten well behind Jamie Hayter, as they should, because Jamie Hayter is awesome.
So good.
I think this could be a real chance for them to like crown someone that has very much organically worked their way up the card, up into championship contender status. Like you kind of had that with Britt, you know, going from still being pretty green and everything when they started AEW into like, no, she's the top star and she needs to have the belt and blah, blah, blah. But this is a bit different. Like kind of people knew that Britt Baker was earmarked for big things when she came in, you know, that was pretty clear. This is Jamie Hayter was Britt Baker's second, and now she has the chance to be the top star of the division. And there's a lot that you could play with there. If she then wins the championship, maybe that's when you do the turn and have Britt Baker turn on her. I don't know. Plenty of things that you could go with here. I think I'll go with Toni Storm just for the sake of 50-50ing this thing and making the predictions a little bit more spicy. But I think Toni Storm could win it for the sake of, you know, hanging on to the belt and then facing Thunder Rosa when she's back. I think that's entirely possible. Don't know if it's the right answer, though. I think this could go either way.
Yeah, I think there's more mileage in Hayter getting the belt and doing something with Britt than waiting for Thunder Rosa to come back with Toni Storm. Because I think what we may end up seeing at Full Gear is not the crowd booing Toni Storm, but I mean, they might do, because I think this crowd are going to be way more into Jamie Hayter than they are Toni Storm, which will create a real weird atmosphere in the match if Hayter is just healing it up and then Toni Storm wins.
I think you're bang on the money there. I think that might be the exact reaction we get from this. But at the same time, Toni Storm has been a very good interim women's world champion.
Been
like
great.
she I think I forget whether it was tied or passed or whatever. She's got like the second most TV matches as an AEW women's champion, having just passed either Britt or Hikaru Shida. And it's like she's done it in a fraction of the time. So they very clearly like having her on TV as champion, and I think they might keep that going. But again, I don't know that.
Yeah, it's one of the things I will really give AEW a lot of credit for, is when they gave Toni Storm the interim women's world championship, they were like, right, she's on TV every week. And she was on TV every week, whether that just be in like a promo segment or she was actively wrestling, and she was out in front of the crowd as well, which they did not do with Thunder Rosa, they did not do with Hikaru Shida, they did not do with Britt Baker. And so I think this was a real like positive step forward. Granted, she also lost matches, which I think is pretty stupid. But, you know, it's also, I don't think Tony particularly cares much for his women's division. Maybe he will do now Saraya's there.
Maybe.
So maybe. And like, I mean, you could do Hayter wins the belt here, goes into a feud with Britt Baker, and then Britt gets the belt. Maybe they do the title unification, and that's when you do Saraya Baker 2. This time it's for the title.
Could well do. I mean, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa might not like each other, but that's a real like destined to do this forever AEW rivalry.
Yeah,
they could well do that again. There's a bunch of different directions you could go here. Yeah.
So you mentioned this earlier, but it is going to be the finals of the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament, the finals of which will take place at Winter is Coming. As it currently stands at the time of this recording, it's Ethan Page or Bandido versus Brian Cage or Ricky Starks or Lance Archer. So Ethan Page and Bandido, that final is going to be this coming Wednesday, or tonight as you're watching this on Dynamite, and Brian Cage versus either Lance Storm or Ricky Starks will be...
Storm.
Did I say Lance Storm?
That would be a match.
If only it was Lance Storm. Lance Storm versus Ricky Starks. I'd love to see that
fun.
match. Sorry, Lance Archer versus Ricky Starks. Which is... Did that not happen on Rampage?
No, he gets...
he got injured, didn't he?
He gets laid out on Dynamite, and I think that match is happening on Dynamite. And then the Ricky Starks, Brian Cage match that I imagine will happen will be on Rampage.
Yeah. So we are looking at, let's say for the sake of argument, Ethan Page, Bandido, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage. I would imagine Ethan Page beats Bandido, and I think Ricky Starks beats Brian Cage. So we end up with Page versus Starks.
That's my prediction.
And then Starks wins the whole thing.
That's my prediction.
Yeah.
I am almost most confident in this one as... of the possible combinations, or of all the matches on this show, really, there aren't many that I'm more confident in. It's probably just the Jade match than having Ricky Starks get his big moment here. I don't know what that's going to mean for the main event, because I think you could have Ricky Starks go up against either MJF or Jon Moxley as world champion and everything. But I don't know what the heel-face alignment's going to be from that main event. Coming out of it, of course. I think Ricky Starks is due for a really big win on pay-per-view. I think this could be it. Especially after losing to Powerhouse Hobbs in like 5 minutes at All Out.
Such a shame.
This needs to be a big match and a big night for him.
Or Tony Khan clearly loves the firm.
I'm not putting this energy out there into the universe, Luke.
Ethan Page wins. MJF wins in the main event, and it's the firm's Ethan Page versus the faction for hire that MJF had to get him that world title in the first place versus MJF at Winter is Coming. The storyline is there for it, but it is not the storyline that I think most people are into.
No, I don't think so. And like, Ethan Page is a fine performer, don't get me wrong. I think him as a world championship TV challenger, I think, is perfectly fine. But in terms of beating someone on pay-per-view, I would not be beating Ricky Starks at this moment again. So soon after the last one, which I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of thought would be his coming out party. I think this is going to be his coming out party. After his promo on Rampage a couple weeks ago, I think that kind of telegraphed maybe a Ricky Starks win here. I'd like to think so, because I do not care for the firm.
Well, I don't think many people do. We'll certainly see what happens. I think for now, the graphics will say Ricky Starks for both of us, but we'll make official predictions when we come to the live streams and we've got the full picture in front of us.
Could be Lance Archer or Lance Storm, apparently.
It could be, or it could be Bandito.
Yeah.
Bandito's just signed.
Bandito's great.
And Bandito's awesome.
If you're looking for probably the best worker of the ones around, Bandito would probably qualify.
A finals of Bandito and Ricky Starks?
Yeah.
I'm well in for that.
That would be one of the better matches on the show.
And I love Ethan Page, but I'd be way more into Starks versus Bandito than I would be versus Page.
I totally agree there.
So we'll see. For the AEW World Tag Team Championships, it is the champions, The Acclaimed, versus Swerve in Our Glory. It is the third match in the trilogy. And I think in this moment here, we get our Keith Lee heel turn and Swerve in Our Glory win those tag straps.
I think I was doing a show with Ollie recently where we just kind of like worked out the different possible ways that this storyline could go, because they very clearly want to either get the belts onto FTR or have FTR challenge for the belts in the near future. FTR's not going to face the Acclaimed and do a double babyface thing. So I would have to think that FTR needs to face a heel team. And what better heel team would there be than Swerve in Our Glory, finally on the same page as a couple of bastards? Keith Lee, the big lovable bastard that he would be. But I don't think you're wrong.
My only reservation behind my prediction is what I've got for the main event. So I feel like I wouldn't want to do two of these on the same evening, and I'm more confident in the other one happening than I am in this one. And I do, they've done some teasers of the Acclaimed versus FTR, and I do think like the two most popular acts going up against each other might be a bigger match than FTR versus the bastards of heel Lee and heel Swerve. So what do you say? What do you think's happening? Who do you think's winning?
Of all the ones on this show, this one is the biggest question mark to me. This is one where I literally have no clue what they're going to do. I think it absolutely... They could just have the Acclaimed win and have it be another great match and have that really be their flag in the ground. We are the top tag team. We're not just like, the one that's going to go into this 2 out of 3, best 2 out of 3 rivalry and lose 2 of them. No, we are the best. We are better than these two, and maybe this is where they break up Swerve and Keith Lee.
Yeah, Keith Lee, like, really, he's the one. He gives a spirit bomb to Swerve to be like, look, we're done now.
Yeah,
I'm sick of your heel shenanigans, and I'm done.
Could well be. I think Keith Lee and Swerve are going to win this one.
In which case, I'm going to go with the Acclaimed.
Very
I'm going to go for the Acclaimed retention here. And I really could see it going either way.
Yeah,
I really, really could. And I think that then brings us to our main event of the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley defending against the Casino Ladder Match cash-in option of MJF. So my big prediction for this on an AEW review a couple of weeks ago, and it is the prediction I'm going to stick with here, and I'm going to say this now as my main event. MJF wins when William Regal turns on Moxley.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's Regal hands MJF the brass knucks. And that's how MJF wins the belt. And Regal teaches him how to be a true villain. Regal loves being a bad guy.
Yeah.
He proper gets a boner for being a baddie. So I think that's how you do this big MJF thing. This babyface turn is a big swerve, and the night ends with Regal turning on Mox. So that's my stake in the ground. I'm going with MJF to win the belt here.
That's very fun. I like that a lot. Because again, it's not a swerve in the sense of, oh, you're just doing something that people don't expect. No, that would play into the entire storyline here. That would make perfect narrative sense with everything that they've done with these two. I think that's very fun. I think MJF needs to win this match. I think this is his time. I think, if he loses this match, I'm really going to be baffled. I think Moxley has earned himself this vacation.
Yeah, he really has.
To go on.
Oh, he certainly has.
So I think MJF wins it. I'm not 100% certain on the heel-face alignment coming out of it, but if Ricky Starks wins that Eliminator Tournament and MJF goes full bad guy with Regal behind him, that's very fun. And I think that'll make for some really good promos leading into Winter is Coming for MJF versus Ricky Starks and a really good main event match there. I like that a lot. I'm going MJF.
Particularly if you've got Regal, because the whole deal they're going to do next year is the contract war of 2024 and Regal being like, look, I've got contacts there. I can get you the best deals. I can put you in front of the right people. Like, there's some real fun stuff you could do around that.
It's very fun. They always seem to, people often say, like, oh, why does the best talker need a manager? He doesn't need someone to talk for him. But it's not so much needing someone to talk for him. It's just having another character around him at all times to bounce off of.
Yeah, this isn't a Nyla Rose, Vicky Guerrero situation where you look at that on screen, you're like, why is Vicky Guerrero there when Nyla Rose is actually a much better talker and it gets herself over way more than Vicky does? Like, that for me is a partnership where I'm like, Nyla Rose doesn't need a mouthpiece. This is not MJF gets a mouthpiece. It's MJF gets another character to interact with.
Yes. And that was always my biggest thing watching him interact with the Pinnacle last year, is because the Pinnacle was like a decent little faction and everything. It was good stuff. But it gave him reasons to be on TV every week that weren't just I'm cutting a promo or I'm being in a match. It was he could go and he could pay somebody to allow going and paying for the services of FTR to be the ones under the mask and everything, winning the AAA titles. It was him going back and forth with Wardlow and having that tension building over time. It's him renting out, Sean Spears to do his dirty work. Like, there's so many different possibilities for segments at that point. And this just gives MJF a different reason to be on TV. It gives him another storyline that he can just kind of pick at and tease every single week. I like that a lot. I think it's a really fun idea.
And Moxley taking time off, probably not coming back till next year, maybe like February next year, when that Wild Thing music kicks in and MJF is in the ring as champion with William Regal. Place will go ballistic.
Absolutely.
So all that comes down to is, what is my Joker pick?
Yeah, what is your Joker pick?
So obviously I'm going to probably pick a title match because that makes the most sense. So I can either do MJF, I could do the Acclaimed, I could do Storm, or I could, Hayter, or I can do Jericho.
I know which one I'd pick.
Yeah, I mean, Jericho's is the easy one. But I feel like if I'm going to win this belt, I want to win it on a Hail Mary.
Oh.
And I really feel like I want to win it with Hayter. I want to win it with my girl, Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter is my Joker pick.
Wow.
I am either getting 4 points or I'm losing this whole thing. Because you're 100% getting 4 with Jade Cargill. I'm going with Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter wins the interim Women's World Championship. I'm winning that belt.
Very spicy. I think this prediction battle could go either way. Like, I'm split on the whole tag title match. I'm split on Storm and Hayter. I'm split on Baker and Saraya. There's a lot here.
Could go either way. And also we'll have other matches likely
Saraya
to predict when we come to the live stream itself as well. So please do tune in this coming Saturday on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel, here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. Subscribe, press those, tap that bell for notifications so that you know when that goes live, because we'll then be doing a full review of the show the following day. Pete and Sat Iniangi will be doing that podcast reviews. That'll be a hell of a lot of fun. They'll have a lot to dive into. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this edition. Subscribe and do all that good stuff. I have been Luke Owen, DAD. That has been Tempest, your Jam That Champion, and Jam That Jam.